Hello, hello. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. Muslims, we don't really have anything around this time of the year, so we'll just join in with the rest of our Jewish and Christian brothers and sisters and just help them celebrate their holidays. And today is a big day, you guys. I hit my 100th episode today. That's right. I have been ranting and raving for 100 episodes for approximately hour to 2 hours every single day, 5 days a week since the beginning of the pandemic. So I am very happy. Thank you very much for joining me today for 100 episodes that we hit today. Yeah, that's right. James said, wow, 100 rants. Should we celebrate or simply be amazed that there is so much to rant about? Apparently, we should do both. That we should absolutely be celebrating. I don't really drink while I do my live stream because I want to stay sober and be able to make sense. Although sometimes it might help me take my stress level down because sometimes I just get too emotional and caught up and get too passionate. But I have water or vodka. You decide. I don't know, but very excited to be back. I literally needed some time off last week, so that's what I did. Took some time off, got a chance to relax, smoke a whole bunch of weed. I've been thinking about becoming a spokesperson for cannabis because I'm a huge fan, and I cannot tell you how much it helps me sleep, how well it relaxes me, how much it de-stresses me. So if you have never smoked weed and you are or you want to smoke weed, I highly recommend it. It is not a drug. It is an herbal medicine that you just happen to light. You just happen to have to light, to have to put fire to it. It's only medicinal. I promise you. And this medicine has helped me a great deal. If you suffer from insomnia, if you suffer from depression, you suffer from anxiety, I highly recommend smoking the marijuana. Wally Green said, I have a card. Wally, you're probably in New York. That's why you need a card. I live in California. It's entirely legal here. We have multiple dispensaries here that I go and shop at. I have become a big fan. And honestly, I don't think I would have been able to get through this pandemic in the way that I have if it wasn't for weed. Honestly, it's helped me calm down. I think it's 100 million times better than drinking because it doesn't burn through your liver. You're not, becoming addicted to it in a way that it's like making you bloated, destroying you. It just doesn't do that. And I don't really get the munchies because what do? The moment I get high and sleepy, I fall asleep. So I'm not gonna go and raid my fridge. I'm not raiding through my pantry. So that helps me. So I am a huge fan of the cannabis. And if you don't want to use cannabis and there's some kind of a religious thing for you or there's like a cultural taboo for you, I highly recommend using the tinctures, just the CBD oil. No THC, no high, nothing. It's just the tinctures. You get a few drops under your tongue every morning. It just levels you out. Not in a way where some people are like, oh, it's like drugs. You take drugs every morning. No, it's not. No, CBD's entire purpose is to just calm you down with no high, zero high. All it does is just calm you down. So maybe, I don't know if you guys suggest, maybe I should start smoking some sativa on my live streams. I don't know if YouTube is going to ban me or Facebook is going to ban me because I'm smoking and I'm lighting up a J during my live stream. But I highly recommend it. And if you've never smoked, do it. Go try to get high somewhere. Seriously. I think it's amazing. It is a spiritual experience, minus the spirit, because alcohol could be a spiritual experience, but just get high, go. If you live in a state where I'm really hoping to God that most of the American states are just going to legalize it and just make it, fun at this point or make it just, for recreational purposes. How many let me tell you something. I have been on the freeway in California, and we have crazy drivers here, okay? People drive like a bunch of fucking maniacs. But the one thing that I've noticed is whenever I smell weed, I literally slow my car down and try to find the car where the weed smell is coming from. They are the most paranoid, most slow driving, super cautious drivers. They don't get in car accidents is what I'm trying to get at. So weed smoke, I'm not recommending that you get high and drive a car. That's not what I'm recommending. However, I have seen people who are high and drive very slowly, very cautiously, very paranoid. I highly recommend it. That's just my, not recommending getting high and driving. I'm just saying, just get high and just stay home and then just Uber your shit. But now we're in the middle of a pandemic, so maybe not. I am waiting for my guest to arrive because we need it. My guest is apparently probably getting high. That's why he's not here yet.
Crouppen, you've reached my cell phone.
Oh. Well, I want to know, what did you guys do for Christmas? While we wait for our guest to arrive, very funny comedian who actually started off and is actually besties with Tiffany Haddish. And I have him on today. I'm very excited to have him on. Oh, there he is. Mr. Crouppen, where are you? All right. I sometimes feel like tech support, and maybe that's like too on the nose for a brown person to be like saying that they feel like tech support, but I think half the time I do. Anytime I have my guests come over, come on, it never fails. 1 out of 7 or even 10 would be like, I'm having technical difficulties. Can you help me? What do I need to do? And I'm like, is that because I'm a brown person that you think I'm going to be able to resolve your fucking tech issues? But I actually do. I'm really good at tech, believe it or not. I didn't even go to tech school. I'm a high school dropout. Anyways, what did you guys do for Christmas? I need to know. Wally Green said, nah, they can't do that. They can't do what, Wally? I want to know. And they won't. Get higher drive. Yes, I agree. Tim said, hey, James. Of course, James responded. And you guys, we are at our 100 episodes today. So if you haven't had a chance to go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, please do. It would mean the world to me. I have a ton of interviews there with the likes of, if you go under my Minority Report. So first of all, you can go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Mona Shea Comedian. You'll see my stuff scrolling in the bottom. Yeah, so you got that. Oh, Wally Green said, stop you. Oh, he meant stop me from doing my live smoking. You know what? That's a really fucking cool idea. Thanks, Wally. I hope not. James said, I knew there is a nerd deep down inside. Yeah, exactly. If you guys haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. I have this amazing podcast that I do every Thursday and Friday called Minority Reports. And there's a whole giant playlist on my YouTube. And you can literally just click play all while you're cleaning the house and you want to watch a podcast. And I have interviews there with Margaret Cho. I have interviews there with Congresswoman Katie Hill. I have interviews with Trey Crowder. I have interviews with a ton of comedians. I think I've been trying to get Tiffany Haddish on, but I have a ton of other comedians, filmmakers. I have Rula Jibril. She is a Italian-Palestinian journalist. She was on Bill Maher. She had a giant fight with him on his show. That's how I discovered her. She's on there. So you guys can go and watch all these incredible interviews while you're getting bored during the pandemic. So do that. So that will be amazing if you guys could do that. I'm trying to catch up to 1,000 subscribers and reach my watch hours on YouTube so I can possibly monetize it and not live on spam any further. All right. My guest is finally here. Yes, He's here. He's made it. All right. My very talented, very funny friend. I actually discovered him because many moons ago when I moved to Los Angeles, there used to be this show. There used to be this thing called Bite the Mic. It was a bite-sized TV. And my friend, and he's the one who was hosting the show when I went and did a set. And I had this. That was one of my best sets that I ever did. And he was hosting. And we've known each other since. So this is my very talented friend, Samson Crouppen. How are you?
Yes. Mona, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Oh my God. Yeah. Sorry too for my kind of super suburban white guy dad hair. This crazy rainstorm. Is it good? Let me just get a little comfortable. I have my army fatigues on. I'm just hunkering in my little man shed down here. But I apologize I was late.
It's all right. I was just ranting and raving, and during this, I came up with an idea because I've become a big weed smoker throughout this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I can talk to you about that. Let's hear it.
I smoke every day. I actually have a routine now where I take an edible and then I chase it with a joint. So it's indica and then chase it with a joint, and it just sleep like I've never slept before.
Like a baby. So are you smoking? You said you're smoking every day. Are you like Nate Dogg, like smoke weed every day, like all day? Or what are you doing? You're just like, it's 5 o'clock. I'm going to have my little edible in a joint.
No, I can't. I do not do anything until I am done with the day.
Good for you. You're one of those. I wish I was that guy. I'm like, hey, let's, my wife always said, I always like the reward before the work, like dessert before dinner. But weed is great though. I mean, especially for mellowing out,
Yeah, exactly. But you know what it is, Samson? Like, I think we're also spoiled because we live in California, and we have it recreational, it's legal, and Colorado and some of the other states also. But in the rest of the country, it's like this big taboo attached to weed. It's taboo. Yeah. People look down upon it. I mean, look, my family lives in Texas, and my brothers look at me all weird when I'm just like, "Yo, you should smoke some weed," and they're like, "Yeah, I don't do drugs." I'm like, "It's not a drug."
Yeah, no, that was, my wife was like that when we first moved out here before it was fully legal. The argument with people, drinkers, will always be like, yeah, but it's illegal, so my drinking's legal. But I always say you never hear about a bar fight being started because somebody smoked a joint with somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, it's just everything stems from alcohol. I mean, all domestic violence. I mean, I'd argue there's not a lot of just stoners who are just beating up their wives because they're just probably the wives could probably beat them up. You know what I mean? It's just and but it is this taboo thing. But it's nice being here in California because it is recreationally legal. I mean, I in a way am still kind of in the closet as a weed smoker. I know that sounds funny, but like I don't just totally come out. It's like I can tell everybody I love drinking Bud Light. That's my favorite drink to drink. And I can say that in any social circle. But if I say, hey, I love to smoke weed and whatever and relax, or if I'm working on a writing or an edit, it's a great little creative, it keeps you focused. So, but I think it's about kind of breaking those stereotypes down.
Yeah, while I was waiting for you, I was ranting and I came up with the idea, and I was like, why am I not smoking a joint during my live streams?
Yeah, I mean can you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I was making a comment. I was like, I wonder if YouTube or Facebook would try to ban me.
I don't think their algorithms can sense you smoking on video yet. You know what I mean? It's like words and stuff they picked up, but I don't know if they pick up the actual, oh wait, she's inhaling, dock the feed, flag the feed. But I think, the one cool thing, actually, I just grew a plant this summer and my neighbor cured it for me. So I've had kind of free, you can't grow a beer tree. I mean, I guess you can make your own beer. So yeah, I guess that's dumb, Sam. But, but in terms of I was able to grow a plant, water it every day. It exploded into a tree. And then I have tons of free, marijuana that I can give away to my friends or, save myself a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you smoke? Do you smoke indica, sativa? What do you smoke?
Sativa.
Does it put you to sleep?
No, not sativa. Indica, I've had edibles that are indica that aren't bad. Like I've had that, like if you want to kind of go to sleep, because obviously I'm sure everybody's been having trouble sleeping during this whole experience. I mean, I'm just like, your anxiety on just so many different levels is through the roof. So sleeping has become this thing where I'll like wake up at 3 a.m. or some shit and you're like, okay, great, I'm up. But as of this last week, it's been pretty good. But yeah, there's this THC soda that I'll have like in a little vodka tonic, and that's really good. And that kind of puts me out though. I was like, that was a little too much, but you gotta experiment. It's like, it's so sad. It's like, what can I do to myself to make me sleep through the night at this point in my life? You know what I mean? But I'm not gonna propofol myself ever or anything like that. But
nobody's doing propofol. We know what it did to Michael Jackson. We're not doing that shit.
Exactly.
We're not doing that shit. Samson, speaking of smoking weed, I feel like our Senate and Congress definitely is smoking, because who the fuck is going to survive on a $600
$100? I know.
$600, Samson.
Now, Mona, the night.
By the way, that's our money that they're giving back to us.
Oh, it's crazy.
$600.
Yeah. And it's nothing. It's nothing out of like what, like, so much money. And we only get 600. Now I know what they just talked, like maybe it's going to be 2,000. Did Trump sign that? And, the one thing is, because I have a wife and kids, so my wife and I got 600 each. So that was 1,200. We got 3,900 total last time because we got 500 for each kid.
That's right.
So I'm actually, rooting for that $2,000. I'm not too good at math, but I just want to let it be a surprise, whatever that stimulus check is going to be. Yeah. But I'm just kind of like, what a bunch of assholes that they're giving it to us after Christmas. That's right. When if they were really smart and as greedy as they are, they would have said, hey, let's give it to the people a week before Christmas so they can just go back and blow it, put it back into the economy. Yep. And it's a win-win. Everybody thinks they got money, and everybody would go out and buy a fucking flat screen or whatnot. But the fact that they're doing it now is just, it's so blatantly disrespectful. You know what I mean? It's like an abusive boyfriend, just like.
That's exactly what this. I mean, look, I think if
or girlfriend,
anything during this, girlfriend, I think if we've learned anything during this pandemic is that we are in an abusive relationship with our government. Our government is an abusive relationship. They don't give a shit about us. I mean, look, none of the politicians, and I don't give a shit which side of the aisle they're on. None of them had to take a pay cut. Their medicine wouldn't come back. Their medical didn't cut back. They got paid completely out of our money. Now they're having a hard time giving us our money back and helping us.
It's crazy. It's almost like we loaned somebody $1 million and they're having a hard time giving us $600 back of our money that they owe us. That's correct. It is. I mean, being an adult is so hard, just really realizing how much your parents went through to make all this stuff go. All the parents who, I realized somebody said something real powerful to me, like, Santa, the idea of Santa, I mean, I'm Jewish, but we celebrate Christmas, my wife's Catholic and whatever. But the idea of Santa Claus is that of affluency. You have to be affluent enough to be able to provide your children the innocence to believe that some fucking old man is flying reindeers in a sleigh and making his way around the world to like how many billions of houses in one night. You know what I mean? And so it's just like, it's sad to me. And I realize that, because you see a lot of people grow up like, oh my God, we had such great Christmases. And oh my God, and it looks like the SNL song, where mom got a robe, you know what I mean? But that Christmas, the video is hilarious, but that Christmas is such an affluent Christmas that a lot of people are very familiar with. I'm familiar with it, you know what I mean? But to think about, getting back to the stimulus that, it's not people don't realize that not everybody is afforded to believe in Santa Claus, you know,
That's
or
right.
to allow their children. They have to spoil it, because if they don't, they're going to look like assholes, because why did Santa Claus not come to our house? These poor children will think they were bad.
That's right.
So the parent has to, you know, so it's just sad. Then, and fucking $600, it's just insulting. It does nothing. You know, that's half my water and power bill. That's my tutor for my kids for the month. That's, you know, I mean, that's my drug bill, alcohol bill for the month. I mean, $600 is just nothing. You know, it goes so fast.
My dog food cost over $500.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not like I'm giving her like this super fancy schmancy food. It's just decent food that I'm just trying to provide my dog, so she will live a little longer than you know, if I had fucking given her tap water every day.
Yeah.
You know?
So basically, your dog will get to eat, but you won't. You'll have to watch your dog eat.
That's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, listen, not going to lie. It's not that I can't afford to lose a few pounds, but that I've gained.
You're so stupid. I just see you looking at your dog like, the food, it's starting to look good. We have my youngest son
going like this with the paw, just trying to pull the food.
Yeah, trying to. Yeah. One of my youngest son's best friends, this is the funniest story. He's such a little piggy that he was eating so many chocolates that he picked up a few off the floor, but it ended up they were dog food.
Oh.
So he just sees the little pebbles and he's like, and they like, you know, like,
oh my God. So how, I mean, you're besides being a stand-up comic, and you know, you and Tiffany Haddish go way back. I mean, you guys have known each other for gajillions of years. Yeah. But like, how have you been kind of surviving during the pandemic? Like, you know, are you like trying to pick up odd jobs? Like what odd, like editing? I don't know. How are you?
You know, hand jobs on Hollywood Boulevard has just been my bread and butter for years.
As long as you wear a mask, Samson.
I know exactly. I didn't even know I was prepared for a pandemic, because these hand jobs have been paying like crazy for years. So by the time the pandemic hit, I mean, look at my jacket. I just got off one. You know, I just got one off. I mean,
that's a good hand job you must have given, because that's a nice job.
Oh yeah, dude, and you know, I can do two at a time. I'm just fucking, you know, I double book sometimes, Mona. Whatever the family needs, Mona. Whatever the family needs.
Do you put the guard though, just to divide the customer?
I have a plexi shield that I created that it just kind of sits on my lap, you know, and I'm able to reach my arm in, like, you know, like in the ICU, the with the little babies, the NICU unit, you know, it's like the hand glove thing. I reach it through the plexiglass, and then I'm able. I ask them to lotion me up. You know, it's the only thing I just say. Bring it's a BYOL. Bring your own lotion. You know how we do.
I was gonna say lube, but yeah, sure.
Lube, yeah, either or. Bring your own lube or lotion. No, but for real, I do a lot of corporate work for law firms. You know, I've been producing in Hollywood for years, and you know, like we met on the Bite the Mic show, which was awesome. Yep. You know, Tiff and I were hosting the stand-up show, and God, man, it was such a great opportunity, and I knew it at the time. But it's even in hindsight, I'm like, what a gift for me to be I was able to produce in, you know, a studio right on Hollywood Boulevard and give comics a 10-minute set of like a 4-camera shoot with a live audience. It was like shooting mini specials, and I just it was so cool, and so many great people you know, grace that stage. So I'm just so glad at least I got that opportunity, and I learned, you know, so much too of how to edit stand up, how to produce it. You know, I'd say the hardest thing during that whole show was my stand up slip, because I was doing so much behind the scenes, and I was just really starting my stand-up career a little bit, you know, because I was always mostly a sketch comedy type of person.
Right.
But anyway, so I do a lot of corporate stuff for law firms, doctors, like their media production. Okay. So I started doing that a few years ago, which has been really great to kind of pay the bills. Yeah. And it's like, when Hollywood's not calling, I'm not freaking out. I have my bills paid, but then,
That's right.
I have things kind of cooking. So
Yeah.
that way it's like, it'll be gravy once I hit with something,
Yeah. I mean, you know what it is, Samson? Like I was reading what is in the stimulus bill, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
how much they have about $90 million that goes towards furniture.
Right. It's insane shit if you look into it.
You're like, $90 million is gonna go
Yeah.
buy furniture, but you're having a hard time giving me $2,000, and it's not even a monthly $2,000. By the way, Canadians are getting, since the beginning of the pandemic, $2,000 a month standard.
I thought it was a week. Or is it a month? It's two. No, it's $2 a month. You're right. Yeah, I mean that alone would keep families alive. It's amazing. It's and I'm pretty spoiled. Our family. I really can't complain. We're doing okay. But I just think about families that aren't. And that reality is just so overwhelming if you care to think about it for a second.
That I mean, something I think about what I mean. Look, we are part of the working class. You, me, even people watching this, right? A lot of them are multimillionaires and they're single. Hi, hello, I'm available.
I'm available too, actually, and you heard about my hand job prowess.
Package deal. We come as a package deal. And
BYOL.
BYOL. Yes, bring your own lube and lotion. But I look at the working class and I'm just like, I'm watching people plunge into debt. I'm watching people plunge into poverty in a level that you're just like, wow. I mean, how long? Or I'm watching friends who are small business owners that put their entire life saving their businesses. Just watch all of it just disappear right in front of their eyes. The PPP loans went to the wealthy friends. The PPP loans did not. I'm incorporated. I called the Wells Fargo last week and I was like, where the fuck is my PPP loan? And they were like, I was like, can I just go apply for it? They're like, you can't just apply for it. You have to be invited to apply for it.
Oh, wow. So it's like Clubhouse.
It's a Clubhouse. That's exactly what
Clubhouse.
it is.
Exactly.
Listen, going back to what
it is. Look, you know why? Because these big companies had lawyers with all the paperwork ready to file it the day it opened. You know what I mean? So it's like if you're at Disneyland, they had somebody waiting in line at 5 a.m. to get the first ticket in line. And so somebody like you, me, anybody with a small business that, they can't afford to go get a lawyer to do the paperwork. So they have to figure it out over time, do it themselves. And by that time, there's no money left.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I mean? So, and that's just how the whole system is meant to work. The whole system is meant to work for the affluent. So they know they can get themselves the best lawyer and the best doctor, to get them out for murder or to save their life.
That's correct. And I think what I'm amazed is that, the deadline for it is December 31st. That's this week.
Right.
Still haven't gotten a single email, nothing.
Yeah. Nothing. No. I mean, it's kind of, we've realized that America has been built on all these stereotypes that we are just the superpower and number one. If we were having like a global Olympics, America would win every year, every gold. But the reality is we're actually like dead last. You know what I mean? We're not dead last, but we're more like a lot of these third world countries that we try to make fun of.
That's right.
Or a lot of the countries we call shitholes. And they look at us now and they're like, we've shown our entire ass through the lens of Donald Trump. And all these people have just been bamboozled into believing his crap. He's channeled into white power, which is obviously very powerful in America and very alive and well. And the levels of white power we've seen, that's not white power and, neo-Nazis, alt-right is not Edward Norton in American History X anymore. This is like your fucking mother-in-law. You know what I mean? This is your sister. This is your whoever. People who are on that fringe and would vote for Trump in a second term were still able to forgive everything. And it just comes down to, I'd say it's not right or left. It was just right. It becomes right or wrong. Like, where is your moral compass? and it's hard to see where a lot of people's, they say it's in the stock market and this and that, but I believe the stock market can do just as good, if not better, with a president who leads us, the right way.
Trump knows that his base, who are mostly not very educated folks,
poor rural white people, religious white folk are his bread and butter because they're hook, line, and sinker because they're scared as hell.
Yep, absolutely. But what I wanted to say was that even Governor Newsom, whom I actually have lost an immense amount of respect during this pandemic, received $4 million from the PPP loan.
I saw that, yeah.
What the fuck is the governor of California doing getting a check of $4 million? While all the while, during the pandemic, his winery has been open because
he went to French Laundry. Well, was it French Laundry? Does he own that restaurant?
I don't think he owns.
No, because I know they got a PPP loan for like $4 million as well or something. So yeah, I mean, look, man, this is as old as time politics. Like, if you're at the top of that fucking rat hill of cheese, dude, you're gonna fucking take as much cheese for yourself and then just toss the crumbs down to the little, the little rats and shit. It's just like they take care of themselves. That's what they do, and they get involved in this. So, I believe maybe a lot of politicians get into it to be a public servant and to really do the right thing. But I think the money and the greed, it's like training day. You're that young rookie, but eventually you're going to get wet.
Right.
And it's like, are you going to get turned? And I think a lot of people in politics do. I just, I think to me, like Obama seems like one of the most straight up politicians where you're like, wow, it seems, and I mean, obviously he's got blood on his hands. Every U.S. president does.
Yep. Most bombings, then, also, let's also not forget that, during Obama's administration, most deportations took place. Deportations took place under Obama.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I think it's that's a whole thing about with Obama as well, is he wasn't able, people think, oh, he's the first black president, he's going to just go help out black people, or they say he didn't help out black people. And I think a lot of the reason is just because, white privilege. He was the first black president. He had to come in and essentially be like, okay, guys, just, he led with power. And I don't have facts to back up what I'm about to say, but I think he was very pressured to make certain decisions that he had to. And he knew he couldn't just come out doing everything for the black community, because then this whole racist base would tear him down.
Yep.
And you see with Donald Trump, like Obama couldn't have gotten away with one single offense that Donald Trump has gotten away with. Anything his press secretaries have said, like just every single tweet, there's not one of those I could say, okay, maybe Obama could have gotten away with that. They would have stormed the White House.
That's right.
If he had talked about a third term,
an
armed militia would have stormed the White House and screamed, how unconstitutional this president is.
That's correct. And, Samson, you were earlier talking about getting wet from becoming a rookie to becoming a...
Yeah.
I was like, Trump does like to get wet, with those Russian fuckers that like to pee on him.
He does.
He's got wet plenty of times, Samson.
Yes.
He's a fan.
He's a fan of getting wet. You're right about that.
I mean, you talk about, imagine if President Obama was like, I'm not going to concede, right? This election is illegal. I want
crazy.
to be counted. Navy SEALs would be going in and dragging his ass out of the White House. They'll be like,
there'd be dudes in pickup trucks with Trump flags dragging him out of the White House. You know what I mean? Like, there's just
one of the things that Samson, I don't know if you've been seeing this around LA, which is I'm shocked to see this. I saw a G-Wagon with a huge Donald Trump flag sticking in the back of a G-Wagon right in the middle of West Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean,
what?
Look, I have noticed, and I'm not making like a racial racist statement, but in LA, the Armenian population, I'm not saying it was Armenian because they were driving a G-Wagon, but because everybody drives nice cars in LA. But what I've seen, I was at a Target with my kids at a pumpkin patch, and it was an all Armenian Trump rally that stormed the parking lot, and it was the most aggressive thing I've ever seen. And all Trump rallies are aggressive. So it was not just because this was Armenians doing this.
Sure.
The aggression that Trump creates goes beyond race or color. You know, anybody can think of themselves as some Trump nut. But I have noticed because of some of the things that Trump has done in favor of Armenia, there's a lot of Armenians who really support Donald Trump. So I'm not saying an Armenian was driving that G-Wagon. I don't know. There's no way to not to sound racist, but I don't know.
Listen,
but that's weird to me that Armenians support Donald Trump so much when he's such a, you know, anti-immigrant sentiment and you know, he's just, the thing that people don't understand, people of color, if a Trump supporter doesn't know that you're not a Trump supporter, they're thinking a lot of shit about you or going to be whatnot. But once you say you're good and you have your hat on, you know.
Samson, even if you have your MAGA hat on and you're a, you know, Middle Eastern, South Asian, you know, person of color, basically, they're still thinking those fucking thoughts. But they're just you're a little less than the other person who's not wearing it.
I have this guy who, you know, I'll get my car detailed every once in a while, and he is Iranian.
Yeah.
And I said, look,
Which we have a lot of in Samson.
And I said, look, if you went to one of these Trump rallies without your Trump hat on, most of these guys would think you're some terrorist there to blow the place up.
That's right.
Like if we're talking stereotypes, that's how these types of Trump people view you stereotypically. But you're like, he's like, I love Trump. Trump's the greatest. Trump, I love Trump. And I was like, but you don't understand, man. They look at somebody like me and I could sneak in something like that saying that. But to you, they don't even recognize you're Iranian or Armenian or Indian or, you know what I mean? They float you all under, if you're a person of color, in this. If you're black, they put you in your, you know, that category. It's either you're black or you're a Muslim terrorist. You know what I mean? That is the intelligence level of the average person at a Trump rally.
You know, Samson, I don't know if you heard this news that just came out this past weekend, but there were some Muslim guys. I think they were Middle Eastern, but I think I've read further. I think they were Sudanese, and they were apparently communicating in Arabic.
Oh yeah, they were texting and got kicked off the airplane.
Meanwhile,
yes.
Right? No terrorism, nothing to do with terrorism whatsoever. Just innocent, like just happened to be texting in Arabic, and then next thing you know, some fucking Karen is reporting them, and then they're getting kicked off a flight. Meanwhile, in Nashville, right? Some fucking 64-year-old white dude
who looks just like me.
No, he didn't look like you. You're a
no, he doesn't. He looked like MacGyver.
He did,
honestly, but he was like
MacGyver on crack, though. MacGyver on crack, Samson. I think.
MacGyver on meth, actually.
On meth,
that looked
sure.
like meth.
And you're just like, oh, wow. So while you have local terrorism that's being homegrown, right? And you couldn't get to it, and this motherfucker blew things up in Nashville, in the meantime, you're taking off some Muslim, some innocent guy off a fucking plane just because they're texting in Arabic.
Yeah. No, the irony is after 9/11, any person of color was an enemy of the state.
That's correct.
And that stereotype to America since, you know, whatever, 2001 has been an ugly stain on our culture that a lot of Americans subscribe to for a while. And the irony is now, I saw somebody had a great quote that white people, it was something, you know, and everybody's going to hate me for this. White people love to take credit for everything except for, like, you know, being number one at domestic terrorism or something because, and that wasn't it. But it's like, if you look at domestic terrorism, this recent guy, I was looking at news articles and it said computer guru builds mobile bomb. a computer guru. What a compliment that white privilege, white power affords you, that you're a fucking terrorist suicide bomber on Christmas Day.
Right.
You blow up an entire multiple buildings and kill. You're a suicide bomber. What would they call any person of color who is a suicide bomber?
That's right.
And that's not even the term they're using for him.
Right. That's right.
And how big was that suicide bombers? That's all. We couldn't talk about anybody Muslim without having these terrible stereotypes in our head about a suicide bomber, or that 9/11 was just something that was just was going to continue to happen. And and in hindsight, look at we experienced 9/11 daily with coronavirus, which our administration has handled so poorly. So it's almost like this administration has slowly flown a plane into America with 300,000 people. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy. And then, people of color are stuck to flip the bill for that shit. But white people still, we have this innocence that people look at me and they look at you. And if they ask who's the one, they're going to say, I'm sorry, but
it's Mona.
It's Mona.
Yep.
Samson's maybe a sleeper cell, but you know what I mean? But that's the reality of how
I definitely am a sleeper cell with all the weed that I smoke. So I am definitely.
Dude, well, you're a hot terrorist. Sorry. I'm totally, my whole career is over by this whole show. This whole movie, that here, Mona. Everything I've said has just been so incredibly racist.
Terrorists would never hire me because terrorists are never attractive people.
I talk too much. I tell.
No, I mean, listen, even the latest guy in Nashville, I mean, that guy is he's ugly. Like, terrorists are never attractive people. Because if you're hot, you don't have to kill yourself.
Right.
You have options.
But stereotypically, if this was a sporting event, it's 9/11-1.
Yeah.
White guys like 20. You know what I mean? When you look at, if you want to throw mass shootings into that,
that's right.
Those are predominantly young white males who are disgruntled.
That's right.
Those are just facts, you know.
Then every time they are described, they're just like, well, his mom just didn't give him enough hugs. Like, he just came from a disturbed family. And it's like,
where if it's a black teen, they bring up his record, or his mom was a crackhead, or the narrative is always different. And again, I think some white people don't like conservative white people that think, Sam, you just hate white people. And I want to make it clear, I don't hate white people because I am white. The Oklahoma City. Yeah, exactly. Timothy McVeigh. Yeah. But it's just recognizing white privilege, white power, and how this system was set up to work. I'm Jewish. So if people really knew if I look stereotypically Jewish, I'm affected in a different way than that. I always say, like, for black people, they can't turn off their blackness. I can turn off my Jewishness. I don't have to tell people I'm Jewish, and they can assume maybe I'm Christian, Catholic, whatever, just white, just regular old white guy. And I can walk into pretty much everywhere. You know what I mean? You even saw the trumpet player who that crazy white lady, Karen lady, of course, was like just going after him and his son, saying that, his son stole her iPhone when it was left in her Uber and he returned it to the hotel. But just the way that she was unable to make this manager work for her. It's the great white privilege that we know how to fucking call the manager. You know what I mean? One thing, like at a hotel, when we would check in, my dad, we were always famous for being able to get an upgrade because we would go in there and fucking talk to the manager.
Right.
And we'd end up in like the Michael Jordan suite. And it's just kind of that entitlement a little bit that you don't even always realize that most Americans aren't afforded.
Yep. Samson, you were talking about Armenians and being Trump supporters. Did you know that in Texas, we had a slew of South Asians and Middle Eastern that weren't even allowed to go into the Trump rallies, the regular Trump rallies with all the white people. So they had to hold their own separate Trump
They don't even realize the racism. That's a crazy, and again, it's not just Armenians. I am and just head exploded when I meet a Mexican for Trump, an Indian person for Trump, and really anybody for Trump, but like just a rural white person because, okay, that makes sense to me. You've been bamboozled,
Yep.
and you haven't been out in the world enough to have enough experiences to know that you're being sold on fear and stereotypes,
That's
Yep, Soho Karen. That's right. She is.
so.
And I feel so bad for Karens out there, because what about Becky? What about Becky? We forgot Becky was the original Karen. A lot of people don't like talking about Becky anymore.
Because Becky has good hair, and I think that's fair. Karen has terrible haircuts.
Yes, Becky with the good hair got away, but Karen has that like Kate +8 haircut or something.
Yeah, sorry.
I just got a message to these white women: just chill the fuck out. You know what I mean? You don't always have the right. You have the right to call the manager if you yourself were violated, but you better be damn sure, because they need to pass laws that people like that are terrified to make that accusation because they know they might go to jail for it.
That's right. Because there's
it becomes something that they almost are like, where people's phones actually do start to get stolen because they're like, take it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Not that, but it's like you need to take away the entitlement from, and it's not just women, it's white men. White men are the most privileged, you know what I mean? But I think it's just, they're busy giving us $600 stimulus checks while the Karens of the world are handling the lower level oppression.
It's I was watching this movie. I think it came out last year, if I'm not mistaken. It's called something Jewel. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
It's about this.
Is it an adult film?
It's an adult film, yeah. It's about this dude. It's about this Clint Eastwood directed it, and it's about this Richard Jewell.
Okay.
Richard Jewell was a hero who discovered a bomb, and it was in the middle of DC somewhere, and this bomb had went off a number of years back, and he was just a security guard, and he discovered the bag. And you talk about, just kind of tiers of, the privilege, right? So a rich white guy has way more privilege than a poor white guy, right? Way more privilege. Way more.
Right. But the poor white guy doesn't realize he has more privilege than the richest black guy.
Sure, absolutely.
And in terms of like getting shot by police,
right?
I'd much rather be that poor white guy because the cop can relate to him.
100%. And I think Chris Rock even has a joke about it. He was just like, he's like, I saw a white guy in a wheelchair, and if I was to walk up to him and be like, yo, I'm a wealthy black comedian, would you switch lives with me? He's like, nah, man, I'm just gonna write this whole white thing out, man. I'm just gonna write.
Right, I wouldn't switch places. Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, if you ask people when you get pulled over by the police, who do you want to be?
That's right.
Me or Jay-Z, Yeah.
Samson, I would say that even Richard Jewell. Yeah, thank you, Sean Sweat. I was watching that movie, and the fascinating thing about that movie is that this poor guy was a poor white guy who worked as a security guard, right? And the FBI, and he was being hailed as a hero. And then the FBI, even though they had the fucking evidence that it wasn't him, turned around and blamed it on this poor guy and said that he wasn't the hero, that he might himself had come up with a pipe bomb at home, raided his house, took all his shit, his mother, he lived with his mother, took all his stuff, made their life a living hell, and this is someone who's like a poor white guy, like his life absolutely being destroyed and turned into shreds, even though the FBI has information that he is not the culprit. Right? They're just like, so they just kind of take turns as to who can take the fucking beating, right? They'd rather just pin it on a poor white guy who can't fucking defend himself. He doesn't have the means, but he gets lucky. He gets an amazing lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you can't afford a lawyer, you're weak. And one thing stereotypically with white people, I think police assume you might have access to a lawyer. A person of color, I think they're assuming you don't, or they're assuming they can get I mean, look, there's a reason why police are it's disgusting. The guy just in Illinois went into a bowling alley. He was a Green Beret, shot 3 people or 6 people, killed 3 old men. It was just all random. Yet Jacob Blake gets shot 7 times, supposedly reaching for a knife in his car.
Mm-hmm.
The list goes on. And
Yep.
the continued sentiment is, why are police able to arrest these mass shooters, take Dylan Roof to get a Burger King,
That's right.
but they can't bring in any unarmed Black people? What is going on? I mean,
Yep.
if you were looking at this from a logistics standpoint,
Yep.
you're telling me you can't kill the heavily armed guy and you can bring him in peacefully and give him a lunch request, but you can't bring in the unarmed guy who's not even trained, has no, he's in his garage naked, name the, thousands of different stories of Black Americans that just happened in the last year.
Yep.
And so we know police can arrest people and bring them in.
That's right.
It's just this history of white power and this thing that we don't care about Black life at all. That's the honest truth in America.
You know what it is though, Samson? I think for me also another layer that has been added during this pandemic is classism, right? Now we're in this age of classism where it's becoming very clear. To me, 2020 is about the Vision 2020 being very clear, right? Things have become a lot abundantly clear. Yes, we kind of knew before that our government didn't really give a shit, but now we really fucking
we know. We have the example. Our parents have cut us off.
That's right. Now we have a government that's just like $600 will do. There you go. Just enjoy.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Even Nancy Pelosi. First of all, we need to start having fucking term limits on Senate and Congress.
Yeah. They're all, even the Democrats are awful. I mean, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, they look like caricatures of a politician.
They do.
We need some real people in there. It's funny. People hate the AOC, but I like her passionate. I like her passion. I like her straightforward. I feel like she's honest.
Yes.
And it's funny how people hate her.
Yep.
I know like a lot of strong conservative women who hate her, and that's so weird to me. How do you hate a woman who is so strong and powerful?
I've met older white dudes who have just can't straight up come out and just call her the C word because they're just like, I can't stand this bitch. And the reason they can't
stand an intelligent woman.
Right.
They can't stand an intelligent woman who speaks her mind.
Yep.
Those are the type of men that don't think women are equal. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think a lot of men kind of believe that they believe they're superior or more intelligent than women.
Yep.
Which is kind of silly.
But Samson, I think it's a little bit more deeper than that. I think it's not even just about, oh, she's a strong woman and I don't like her. I think it's also they feel like she's a threat to the power and money that they have. Like
she's smarter than them. It's a threat to their intelligence, their ego, and their position of power.
Yeah,
she could very well come in and be the president one day.
Right.
She is a fucking firecracker. I love that woman.
Yep.
I mean, she's in the embodiment of everything you'd want your daughter to grow up to be, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the irony that these guys sell you on. They want your daughter to be like Melania, a mail order bride. You know what I mean? Or they bag Michelle Obama for years.
That's right.
And she's just like everything a person could be, but it just goes to show how people will overlook all their morals and everything to just feel safe.
So I think to this day, you have people who believe that Obama is Muslim and that he's hiding that he's Muslim. And also, I just want to also point out, when did, why is being a Muslim still a profanity in this country? Like,
I think because 9/11, and I think stereotypically, you go back and look at movies, I mean, in like 80s, it was like Russia, you know what I mean? Like Red Dawn, or remember like the WWF, like the Iron Sheik, even like the Iron Sheik, back to that.
Yep.
But that whole idea of a terrorist, if you put up pictures and the average American, they're going to pick the person of color.
That's
like would be interesting. Okay, give you a terrorist, a guy in, the head stuff, his full white clothing, everything, our stereotypical idea, and then give me, who's the terrorist? A lot of Americans are going to press on the other guy, not me, but like we talked about earlier, it's I'm more likely to be the terrorist, a guy that looks like me.
Yep.
So it's just, you know, but
way,
stereotypically, again, white people don't want to come to grips and admit that, you know, we're kind of the problem right now and we need to deal with our shit
yep.
and kind of clean up our mental space. You know what I mean?
I mean, I feel like there's, you know, even the FBI has statistically come out and confirmed, you know, when the FBI was asked, who do they fear the most? Do they fear terrorists coming from other countries, or do they fear homegrown terrorists? And they're like, the single-handed person that they fear the most is the lone wolf in America. The lone wolf, like this fucker who blew up buildings in Nashville, this fucking suicide bomber.
And why do they even call him a lone wolf? You know, they should call him, like, why give him a wolf? That's such a great name. They should call him, like, the lone rabbit. You know, I don't know. What's a small, puny, the lone rat, you know? I mean, it's like, it's an honor to call him, like, and again, the lone wolf, there's something mysterious. It's like Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. They give white people this, like, mysteriously, oh, well, he was this crazy killer, but, you know, we're kind of fascinated by him. And we have these erotic, you know, Ted Bundys, these white serial killers we fantasize, but it's just like, you know, white fragility is very real. I mean, like, when people can say KKK is the same as BLM, you're fucking crazy. You know what I mean? Like, one was created out of white power and racism, and the other was to combat it, you know? So it's just,
that's right.
I don't know. That's all I got, Mona. You know, I don't want to, I've gotten in a lot of trouble. And, you know, this has been a hot feed.
Samson, there's no fucking way that you've gotten in trouble for this. But if you do, just so you know, I am your protective shield. Thank
you. Just speaking my truth, you know.
Listen, I think you're great, and I think everything you've talked about is very valid, and I think, you know, and it's also a balanced point of view, right? It's not like skewed in one way or another way. Like, you're talking about very valid things, and also, you know, as an intelligent person, as a comic, you're like, you know, you're expressing your opinions or your observations.
Yeah.
I mean,
we observe it. Mm-hmm.
It's very, very fucking valid. What do you have high hopes for Biden? How are you feeling? You think he's going to come around and actually fix it?
I mean, I think it's going to be so-so. I honestly, I've been telling everyone, it's already been great, that I don't hear a lot of politics as much from some of my friends, you know, and that was my wish for this new presidency, that I just didn't have to talk politics with my high school friends, college friends, whoever, get an argument about somebody, about Trump or how great he is, when I'm just like, you're nuts.
Right.
And they think I'm nuts, whatever. And so for that alone, and just, you know, like I said, Trump has been steering us into icebergs. And I feel like, at least with Biden and Kamala Harris, they've already proven, like, by people they're appointing, there's going to be some shady things that go down. It's politics. Biden's not going to deliver on everything, but he's just going to be diplomatic. And I think in an American president, if I can tell my son, you know, I'm not upset if you grow up to be a man kind of like that guy's character, whatever he's presenting on TV. Might not be who he really is. But there's something to say for what Donald Trump did, was just shit all over our country, shit the bed, made us look like a total embarrassment. A lot of Americans don't realize that, because they don't ever leave the country, so they don't care what other people in other countries think about us, but it's so fucking ignorant. That's right. And we are the joke of the family. We're the drunk uncle, but we think we're the studious dad, like, sitting at the head of the table, but we're like the drunk uncle. And I think with Biden, we're slowly going to regain it. Lets people know, at least, okay, America, we were at a big tipping point. I really think we were about to see some very scary things in the next 4 years that we had never seen on American soil. And I think now we're able to kind of steer us back on course and get our global image back on track. Yeah. And, you know, we have a lot to do. I feel like we cheated on the whole world. And because Donald Trump has done what he's done, and 70 million Americans voted and approve of him, we have a lot to do in a cleanup campaign to let everybody know that we aren't the drunk uncle, you know, that we can be the great America again. You know?
Yeah.
How ironic I just said make America great again.
I mean,
that's what we need to do. That's the irony, is Trump was trying to make America great again, but he didn't. America was never quite great for everyone, is the honest truth.
That's right.
And it can be great, you know.
Right. And neither it is right now, right? Right now, that whole thing about making America great again, it's like, talk about plunging a pretty good country into this garbage place where everybody's struggling. Everybody's suffering. This motherfucker was out fucking golfing this past week.
Every damn day.
Your money and my money, while the rest of the Americans are struggling and suffering and losing their homes.
It's insane. And he would complain about Obama golfing all the time. And it's just like, again, Obama couldn't go golfing all the time. You know how much they would have criticized him? You know? Yeah, I mean, it will take... Yeah, we'll be feeling this administration for years and years to come. Yeah. Donald Trump will be regarded as one of the most fraudulent, corrupt, terrible, worst presidents in history. He's already solidified that. People just don't, they're too close to it to really realize. And we're going to learn so much more too. I mean, so much more is going to unfold. And I just hope with Biden, we're not at least going to be condoning white supremacy. And I think that's the most important thing. That was my most important thing really across the board, is we can't condone white supremacy. We can't let it have a life. I'm Jewish, and even back in Charlottesville, seeing people say Jews will not replace us, I just have to think that's a fraction of what like Black Americans feel. And the truth is, Black Americans, I kind of think about it as like a joke, like, here in LA, we always see a bunch of white people who have these service dogs, right? And I'm not knocking on people on service dogs again. This is a career ender. But it's like, it made me think, like, if it was all Black people who had service dogs, that would totally make sense. Because if I was Black in America, I would be a nervous fucking wreck that I'm going to accidentally do something to get pulled over and maybe killed.
That's right.
So why are all these white people, why are all these Karens, why are they so heightened right now? Why do they think they're just getting through this pandemic? Why do white men and women think that they have it so hard in America? Why are we so neurotically stressed? And the answer is, we've been so entitled for so many years that we think somebody spilling coffee on us is equivalent to a Black person being shot by the police. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
I mean,
we glorified protest. You know what I mean? White people made a mockery of protest. They have their sweaters. They have their perfect signs. Show me one civil rights march where Martin Luther King was able to have his daughter in a stroller and a sweater that had some cute little saying on it. Like, that's not... white people have been afforded to go get their pumpkin spice latte and go to a protest. That's not what protest is. You know what I mean? The fact that these militias were in Oregon kicking in a building and nobody was tear gassing them, nobody got shot, there was no police in sight, and they're yelling at police, and it proves that blue lives only matter when they're killing Black people. Because when police are telling them to put their mask on, they're being oppressed, and they're like, "Fuck the police."
That's right.
So where's the blue line?
Samson,
too much, Mona. I've just given too much away tonight.
Man, I'm just saying that the anti-maskers and the anti-vaxxers, the anti-mask and this whole somehow equating it to oppression, and that somehow you're being oppressed.
That's white privilege. To equate mask wearing to slavery is disgusting, and it's white privilege. It's the heart of white privilege that you actually feel that mask is anywhere near the oppression of 400 years of slavery.
I'm like,
it's ludicrous.
So because you're wearing a mask, so that's like getting your children taken away and family members and being sold off in a market and then being slashed and beaten every single day.
No, it's disgusting. My dad brought up an interesting point. Like during World War II, or Vietnam, like you were drafted and you had to go to war. And he's like, Americans, we could never fight together like that in any type of war if we had to, because look at the fight people are putting up to just everybody wear masks.
That's
You
right.
know, so people are such a bunch of, you know, ball sucker, you know, just balls. And because I wouldn't call them pussies, because pussies are a lot tougher than balls. You know what I mean? That's another stereotype that, yeah, people think you got balls if you're tough, and it's actually it's not the truth. Yeah, women give birth.
Listen,
that's all I got, Mona. That's it. That's all I got.
Samson, I what I like about you is the fact that you make the statement that you're like, that's all I got, and then I ask you a question, and then you go on.
And then I go on for 20 more minutes. I know, but I got to go upstairs. My family and my wife's going to kill me.
Is she going to kill you? All right. Well, this has been a really fun conversation. Samson, are you putting out any online content? Like, what's happening with you? Yeah,
actually, I just dropped part 4 of my animated stand-up special, Lean on Sammy. It's in the vein of a lot of the things I've expressed tonight a little bit. I'm also doing a new series called Swapping Ignorance, where I play a character called the Hemp, who's he's a homeless handicapped pimp, and he's living in the LA River. And so a documentary crew is following him around. So it's like, it's just stupid shit. You know what I mean? Like, if you feel like watching just, you know, mind numbing stuff that you don't have to really worry about the world for a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my handle is at Samson Crouppen. So if any of you guys want to check me out, troll me, yell at me for this, you know, all the views I've just expressed. I'm just trying to get white people to really we need to own up to a little bit more, open up the conversation. And I think people would be so surprised at potentially how fast we could move the ball. But the truth is, there's so much deep-rooted racism in our country that doesn't want to move the ball, you know?
Right. Because equality feels like oppression, Samson.
It does. It feels like we're giving something away, but I always say, you know, the complexion provides a protection, and it'll take another 100 years of stereotypes in film. And I mean, it would take another, 50, 100 years of stereotypes in movies that show people of color to erase the damage that's been done.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Samson Crouppen, you are fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining.
You too, Mona. Thanks for having me. And sorry I was late too, but this was a great talk.
You were great. Thank you so much. I will bring you back on again soon. Thank you very much. Take care.
All right, peace. See you guys.
Yeah. That was the fantastic Samson Crouppen. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. I know Mr. B did. Mr. B said, this conversation is so good tonight. Truth. That's right, Mr. B. Great 100th rant. Thanks, Samson and Mona. Thank you, James. So today marks my 100 episodes, you guys, and I don't think I could have brought on a better guest than my friend Samson Crouppen, and I'm so glad you guys could join us. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. It would really mean the world to me. I am trying to reach 1,000 subscribers so my channel can be monetized, and it would really be a fantastic holiday gift if you can subscribe to my channel or even share it on your social media and recommend this to your friends and share this with your friends. And because we did have such a great conversation, share this episode, and maybe we can prevent another Karen from calling the police on some innocent black dude because she feels scared or nervous. Anyways, I will be back tomorrow with a fantastic guest, but it's going to be at 4:30 p.m., not 6:15, so keep that in mind. I am going to bring on a guest who was actually on the Indian Matchmaking Netflix show, and he was one of the contestants, and he's fantastic. He's previously been on the show, and he's going to come back again, and we're going to talk about a great deal of wonderful things. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can subscribe to it by youtube.com/Mona Shea Comedian. My first name, last name, and comedian. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Mona's Comedy and on Facebook at Mona Shea Comedian. You guys, always a pleasure to do this for you. Have a good night. See you tomorrow.